Yes guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, I hope you enjoy this tip coming up, because today it's all about the impact. And we're talking about how to compress the golf ball with your irons. The most important part of striking any golf ball is that we get the impact absolutely perfect, or as close to perfect as we can, and as often as we can, more importantly. We talk often about the downswing position and the backswing position and how the setup should be with the grip and the posture, but it's also massively important to understand what we're trying to do at the end of it. And at the end, we're trying to hit the golf ball as straight as we can, as far as we can, with the iron as much compression as we can as well. So I often see golfers lean too much ahead of the ball, trying to maybe get forwards ahead of the ball because they're thinking about compression, and oddly enough this actually leads to a weaker impact position and a weaker ball flight. Just yesterday I taught a student of mine, he's a 2 handicapper, and he was going through a bit of a bad patch in between the sessions that we'd had. We did about 3 weeks without a session. I started hitting the ball badly, and to go and find that compression, he started to move more and more forward. So the lead shoulder got ahead of the lead hip. Therefore, when you do that, your hands start to work a little bit early. So one of the common things we see, and I think every golfer watching this knows that you need a good impact position. We want to produce a good impact position. So you all know that when we get to the top of the backswing, hands ahead of the ball, hips ahead of the ball, and in doing so, a lot of golfers end up with the head and the shoulders ahead of the ball. Now, if you're coming back into the golf ball, the only thing you can really do from there, if you lean too far forward, is to capitalize with the hands. Try to compensate with the hands as you're coming into impact. Now, this leads to weaker ball flights. It's more of a scoopy action with the wrists, and it encourages a thin shot or a top shot, or even what I've seen a lot of is kind of ground before the ball. So massively important that we understand what an impact position should look like. So if I take my setup, I've got a mid iron in my hand, I've got a 7 iron in my hand, and if you look through the basic setup here, I've got my head over the ball, I've got my spine angle pretty much level to the golf ball as well, and I'm stood at a 90-degree angle to the actual shaft of the club. Now, how does my impact position look relative to that? Well, it should look like this. So what's the difference? My spine angle stayed the same in regards to the golf ball, and so has my head, but my spine angle relative to my body has actually come slightly back. Why? Because my lower body has moved forward. So the main position as I come into impact is my lower body working forward, which then allows the hands to work forward and get the hands ahead of the golf ball as you come into impact. So ball strike wise, I got the hands ahead of the ball. Lower body started to work into the left side, but it left my head behind the ball. It left my spine angle and my upper body, my shoulders, more level with the ball as my lower body drove through. How is that going to impact your downswing? Well, from a downswing perspective, if I move my lower body out of the way, I can get a little bit straighter in regards to the swing path. I'm not talking about being more into out or more out to in. I'm talking about being straighter on the way down, and that's absolutely key. If I can get into a position there where I get the feel from setup, my lower body's here, my upper body's not really moved relative to the golf ball, but my spine angle has moved back in regards to the target because the lower body has moved forward. Every golfer talks about hips, using the hips for power, being able to rotate, and this is absolutely vital in the golf swing, but we've also got to be able to facilitate it, but also know what that position is. So I want to try and see, and I often ask a lot of my golfers to get into this position as they're starting to do a golf swing. I do it myself actually sometimes, particularly with a wedge, because wedges, it's very easy to start trying to work forwards. I want to try and make sure that the lower body's turning, hands are working forward, and the head relative to the ball kind of stays over the ball. We don't want to start to move laterally, because if I started to move into this position where my shoulders are past my hips and my feet, my hands are going to play catch up. That's the last thing we want to see. We don't need the hands to play catch up on the way through. So I want to make sure that my hands have got the freedom with the rotation of my body to work to the target there. I want to keep my hands ahead of the ball, and I want to give them the freedom to drive through the shot like that. As you can see from my head position relative to my feet, everything stayed pretty central. I've not moved laterally. I've rotated, and we're rotating down and into the impact position. Now we can talk again about height of the golf swing. If you're a golfer that swings it a little bit flat, so if you're in that position, you can still get there. If you're a bit slicey, if you're a bit higher at the top of the backswing, you can still get there. You're going to produce different shapes of ball flight, but today we're talking about impact. We're talking about what's known as the angle of attack, the club coming down into the ball, so the descending angle, vertical angle of the club coming into the ball, and that is how we can affect it. We can hit fades, we can hit draws, but we want to be able to make sure that we've got that strike. So one of the key things you should be trying to figure out on the golf course or on the range, how can you strike this golf ball at its absolute best? And this tip is definitely one to do that. Make sure that you understand the positioning of the lower body. Left hip or lead hip over lead foot, spine angle tilted slightly away from the target with the head level with the ball approximately, and the hands ahead of the golf ball as well. If we get into a position where the head is over the lead foot, then the hands are going to, more often than not, have to be a little bit flicky into impact. Hate that word, but it's quite a good description of what you're doing. A little bit flicky into impact, which is going to give a weaker ball flight. Massively important to understand impact, understand the position, so you can get there. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this tip, the huge one for every single golfer out there, whether you're a scratch handicapper or just beginning or just learning golf. Understanding your impact position, how to get there, will give you better shots, will lower scores, and will make you a better golfer, make you enjoy this game even more. Guys, if you are new to the channel, if you've enjoyed this tip, please do come back, check out the library, lots of content for you to look at in terms of course vlogs, course reviews, product reviews, and of course, golf tips as well. But from a beautiful, glorious, sunny Dubai, see you soon.